Hey guys, Nananki here bringing you another Team Fortress 2 gameplay commentary. Today I'm playing as the Pyro on Lakeside, King of the Hill mode, and I am using the flare gun today instead of the reserve shooter, which has been like my standby since it came out. I kind of fell in love with it. I love shotguns in the first place, and a shotgun with a gimmick I couldn't resist. Mixing in the air blast, because Pyro is the only class that really has a reliable way of popping people off the ground. The explosive classes, stickies, grenades, and rockets, especially rockets, can also do the job, and you can do it pretty reliably with rockets for that matter, but you still have to hit them, you know, kind of just right. You still have to rely on your enemy to not move in a way that's going to prevent them from being popped up by the rocket, and if you don't get them right, you still, you know, will hit them, and you're still going to do damage with your rocket, but you're not going to be able to whip out the reserve shooter and go for that air shot, and if you fire the rocket with the expectation of being able to pull out the reserve shooter and then they don't go up in the air, then you've pulled out your shotgun and you're not getting any kind of benefit out of it. You've only got 3 rounds instead of 6, and maybe you should have just kept firing rockets, or maybe you should have just had the regular shotgun equipped at that point. But speculation aside, the flare gun is also a gimmicky weapon in that you do critical damage to targets that are already on fire. So the second flare shot, or if you light them on fire with your flamethrower first, will do 90 damage. And that's respectable. It's certainly not anything to be ignored, and especially with the afterburn adding up to, I think, 60, but it is 45 for the degreaser after the 25% damage penalty on burn damage. Unless you can get the health or water really quickly, like that NG right there did not quite have time to make it to the water, even though he was 12 feet away from it, because after that first hit and then the 90 on top of it, you are pretty well screwed. But I see the spy running off to the right there, and my first concern is, of course, the Pyro, and I see he's disguised as a sniper, and I'm after him, and I missed him with the flare, and I kind of was chasing him, and that was stupid, and let me tell you why. Being aware of stair stabs isn't enough. Always practice safe spy chasing. Never chase a spy up in a client of any kind. Being in front of your target isn't sufficient. If you can look past your shoulder, even in front of you, can stab your back. Together we can create a world free from people screaming about those goddamn stair stabs! But yeah, I think I was saying something about the damage on the flare gun being pretty good. It's going to drop anybody really except soldiers and demo men, and heavies of course can take quite a few shots. And you can only fire 1 shot at a time. With the flare gun you can only fire oh so quickly, whereas with the reserve shooter you can fire 3 rounds fairly rapidly, maybe catch somebody in the air twice. But the reserve shooter is of course a shotgun and therefore worthless at range, whereas the flare gun is still effective at any range, even though there's some amount of damage drop-off. I'm sure every weapon has damage drop-off except against buildings. So the beginning of another round, and this time instead of heading straight to the middle, I decided to head up to the health room on the side, because that's always a popular spot, and taking control of it early is usually handy and helpful. And I caught 2 scouts coming out, one of which was under the effect of bonk, and I watched that Pyro just murder my whole team practically. You know, that medic and the people who were with him. So now I'm with the heavy here on the point, and he got lit on fire, and I put him out. He got lit on fire, and I put him out. Scout came around, and Heavy helped me gun him down. Actually, I guess he didn't get an assist on that kill, so I guess I burned that Scout down single-handedly. The important thing is that the Heavy was there to help me capture the point, and that guy is totally a spy, or so I thought. Yeah, he's totally a spy. And for a second there I was doubting my memory. I was like, I'm pretty sure I remember killing a spy at this point. Yeah, I killed a spy at that point. Once again, people on fire. Most important thing I feel like you can do as a Pyro with any weapon other than the Phlogistinator, and if you have the Phlogistinator, hopefully you have the Man Melter equipped as a secondary, is to put out burning teammates. Fully powered burn, afterburn is going to be 60 damage if left to its own devices and not coming out of the degreaser. And that is really a lot, and I already talked about that earlier, but I'm going to reiterate the fact that it's 60 damage, because being left on fire at 60 damage and being left to burn to death is horrible when you've got teammates left and right that could put you out. And even if you're fighting another Pyro, I think, you know, air blasting him and going for the flare shot is usually going to be helpful to take a little bit of an edge off of his health, so that when you get back into burning each other, you're going to drop him first. I left that health pack for the demo man. I figured he could probably use it more than me. I figured I'd pick up health on the other side, but I stopped on the point to try to defend it, and here comes a bonk scout, and I thought for sure he was going to just shoot me as he got close enough, and here's another scout, and I was just like, oh man, I'm totally going to get killed. But somehow, with my mere 20 health, I managed to get to the health pack, picked up the medium health pack for 88 health. Now, feeling like I've got sufficient life to engage in some combat, I head back to the point, and you know, they've got 2 people on the point, and the crit gods smile upon me and give me some crits to help finish off that other Pyro. Because Pyro versus Pyro, 1 Pyro with crits, that's over. It's mathematical at that point. It's totally irrelevant how capable the 2 are, unless that guy air blasted me immediately and I was coming up behind him. So what are the odds of that, really? And I managed to pick up an assist on that sniper, even if not the kill. I aimed a little bit low, trying to compensate for the drop of the flare. I didn't want to aim too high, because especially trying to hit that angle, it would have gone over his head. But no worries, sniper on my team had my back. So heading back into the fray after that death from a fish. Yeah, I felt like I had a really nice run there on Pyro, and it got ended by a fish. So irony of ironies there, if you ask me. Being beat to death by a trout, man, that's humiliating, I gotta admit. If only I'd watched my back a little bit better. See, if it had been a spy, then I would be like, oh, backstabbed. I should watch my back better, but a fish? And you really need to watch your back better if you're getting murdered by fish. But speaking of things that are mathematical, this round is over. They did not even manage to capture the point one time. That sniper, I don't know what he's trying to do. But as you can see, I kind of had a runaway score on that round. You know, the crit gods were smiling on me, and I kind of just leveled the place. But luckily, the server did a scramble after almost every round. Yeah, I'm cutting out the beginning part with everybody standing around a spawn, but there really was a lot of team scrambling going on to keep it interesting, to keep things mixed up, to prevent any one team from getting too many strong players on it at once. And I thought for sure I was able to compression blast that scout, but nope, I switched my weapon too quickly and didn't manage to catch him. I did notice that my team had captured the point pretty well independently of me, and I was hanging out in the back area on the sniper decks and so forth, and that's a good place to be. If you've got enough people up front, you know, run support. The roaming pyro is a dangerous thing indeed, especially if you can actually manage those compression blasts, which I do not do too well in this round, actually. We end up with a soldier medic pair on the opposing team after about another minute goes by, I think. And they are quite efficient together, and the soldier blows me up several times, despite my greatest efforts to the contrary to try to air blast those rockets. He knows what he's doing. He pulls out the shotgun. He doesn't feed me rockets in situations where I'm waiting for him and lets his team kill me. And, you know, that's playing smart. That's exactly what you're supposed to do against a pyro who's actually trying to compression blast. I'm not going to try to claim that I'm good at compression blasting, because I'm certainly not. I am still happy when I get any compression blast kills. Puts a smile on my face. Just like headshots and stair stabs. Reflection kills are just satisfying. So I'm heading back to the middle once again because they are contesting the point, and I feel like I should lend my efforts to wherever the combat is the hottest. And that spy, man, he's just taking people out left and right. But luckily, my random chasing and waving the flame back and forth like a madman worked, and I was afraid he might be a dead ringer, so I just, you know, filled that whole little room with fire. You know, like a broom, basically, like trying to shoo out a cat. Like, shoot, shoot, you go on now, die, spy. At least that's how I feel with a pyro, because you really kind of are sweeping them around. If you are flamethrowing around them, you're guiding them wherever you want them to go, because they obviously can't go near you, because you're the spy-checking pyro. And there you go. There's a nice revenge, because I don't know how to air blast. And that last shot was pretty low. The reflection might not have even been possible, because he shot so closely, but if it hits close enough that you're hit by the explosive damage, if you're hit by the splash damage, odds are you were close enough that you could have reflected it. And right there was another example. You know, he shot the one rocket I reflected into the group, and I got some damage off that, but the follow-up shot, he didn't fire. I just kind of held and waited, and then the scout killed me. So yeah, that's how you should play soldier against a good pyro, is either use your shotgun on him, try to shoot in front of him to such a degree that he can't reflect it, or have something like this happen, where the other pyro on my team blocked the second one, and the first one, I reflected. Look at that, it's blue, you see it, I see it, I reflected that rocket, I don't understand what happened, it still exploded. For some reason, it didn't seem to do damage after it exploded, and the other pyro on my team got in front of the second shot. And if he hadn't been there to explode, I was compression blasting that, so I figured I would burn him in the back and shoot him as he turned around. Once again, smart guy, he shot at the ground kind of between him and me, almost directly to his left, and not at me. And if he had waited to shoot, if he had spun a full 180 and looked at me before firing, I was hitting the compression blast at the moment I died. I dare say another few frames, and I would have compression blasted and still not hit that rocket because of where he fired it, but you would have heard the compression blast. Right there were some more attempted reflect kills. I saw that guy coming and shooting rockets, and I was like, oh, I just need to reflect up at him. Nope, not happening. Luckily, people being on fire and that 60 damage of afterburn, assuming Well, I don't know, actually, if the degreaser's 25% reduction to burn damage is across all of the weapons that it can use, but that seems like a reasonable assumption to make. I think it would probably reduce the afterburn damage of the flare gun as well, because it just says burn damage, it doesn't say flamethrower damage. So without being 100% certain, I am going to go out on a limb and say that flare damage is reduced as well, the afterburn, to 45. This round I thought was just about over, even though it looked like they might be getting the point there for a minute, and in the time it took me to go pick up health and run back, they have 6 people on the point, or at least a scout and 4 people on the point. I don't even get there near close enough to, or nearly quick enough to do anything about it. And I'm kind of playing this game with this pyro here, and I'm like, oh good, now we have a heavy for backup, I'll just charge forward into those rockets. I don't know, man. Sometimes the reflect gods are with you, and sometimes they aren't. Really, there's no reflect gods, that's all you. If you screw up a reflect, that's 100% on you. Critical hits, you know, whether you've built up a bunch of damage to influence them or not, is besides the point, because they are still kind of random. That is to say, the percentage odds of getting a critical hit increase with the damage you've done in the last 10 seconds or something, but the activation of them is still completely up in the air. That's the end of that round, and somehow I top scored that round, even though I felt like I did just mediocre. I didn't expect to be on that board, and frankly I was worried about our team even being able to get the point back after that last capture. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, I do appreciate it as always. Like it if you liked it, and I will catch you next time. Peace.